gentlemen, the votes are in. The winner of the 1994 Is Wales Talented contest is Llewyn.
Louis Horn, Season 2, Episode 1. It is December the 8th, 2020. A momentous day in my life that makes me very happy and very sad at the same time. 20 years ago today, I won the television talent show Is Wales Talented? It changed my life forever, catapulting Louis Horn into the world of child superstars. I became a child god overnight, a legend in the realms of Owain Gwyndor. All of a sudden, I couldn't walk down Swansea High Street without being stopped by adoring fans. Screaming women and creepy men stalking me at every corner. On the plus side, whenever I went into a wimpy restaurant, I could have any burger I wanted on the house. Woolworths give me a lifetime free subscription to their fantastic pick and mix sweet section. Dinky Donuts said I'd never pay for a donut again. I had the keys to the kingdom of Swansea city centre. A lot of water has gone under the bridge since then, but I'd like to nostalgically take you back to that great day and talk you through what happened. It brings up a lot of emotion in me, and on this week every year, I admit, my anxiety and OCD can be quite up and down. However, it is a day that I will never forget, and it is a day that Wales will never forget. Just like Jesus Christ's star was born in December, so was Louis Horn's. And I think it's not a coincidence that both of us were born in the same month. I woke up on the morning to my favourite sound in the world. My pet rat Gussington scraping at his food box, craving some rodent chocolate drops. It was always the first thing I did in the day, give Gus his beloved chocolate drops. The second thing I always did was take Gus out and put him on my shoulder. Then I'd open the curtain and Gus and I would look out over the Swansea valleys. Downstairs I'd go for breakfast, Gus still residing on my shoulder. Normally, Dad would have left the house and gone to work at the steelworks in Port Talbot. He wasn't sure whether he would be able to make it to the talent show later, because he had to work overtime, but at least he left my Pop-Tarts out. Sometimes I would give Gus a piece of my Pop-Tart. God bless that rat. He had a real sweet tooth. As I chewed my Pop-Tart and washed it down with some delicious full-fat milk and a glass of Tropicana orange juice, I thought about the task at hand. Today was the final of Is Wales Talented, and it was a chance to fulfill my destiny. I put Gus back in his cage and went into the living room where my trumpet was kept. I started the day as I always did, by playing long notes in order to set my chops up. After my long notes, I practiced some technical exercise from the Herbert Clark Trumpet Studies book. The exercises are incredibly hard. However, I was a trumpet prodigy and therefore rattled through them like a great matador dominating a fine Spanish toro. The grand final of Is Wales Talented was to be televised live from St David's Hall in Cardiff. I had arranged a jazz standard for a symphony orchestra and male voice choir to accompany with. The piece was John Coltrane's Giant Steps, and I swear down that he wrote it all those years ago with a little Welsh boy in mind. I got all my handwritten parts for the symphony orchestra and choir together and put them in my satchel. Since my dad was unable to take me to the show, I was to be picked up by a lovely old lady called Stella, who lived on my street. In later years, Stella would kidnap me and keep me in a cellar for quite a few days. However, back then, her marbles were still intact, and she was only too happy to drive me all the way from Swansea to Cardiff. Stella arrived at my house and we embraced. She said I smelt of Pop-Tarts and immediately led me to the bathroom to freshen up. As she scrubbed my young naked body under the hot water, she smiled. I felt a bit uncomfortable, but appreciated that she was looking out for me. After the shower, I didn't practice anymore, as I didn't want to tire my lip out for the big show in the evening. I got dressed in my 3-piece suit and pork pie hat. Then Stella and I set off, counting sheep throughout the whole journey. We arrived at St. David's Hall, ready for the sound check at 2 p.m. It was wonderful to see the Llanelli International Symphony Orchestra and the Llandachai Male Voice Choir all set up and ready for the sound check. All the ladies in the orchestra thought I was really small and cute as I brought my horn onto the stage for the run-through, and they made woo-wee noises and said I was gorgeous. Little did I know that some of those older ladies would soon be part of the entourage of lovers at my disposal. The conductor, David Tregellis Williams, introduced me to the orchestra, and they gave me a rapturous welcome. We went straight into the music. Good God, did it sound good. I knew I was a capable arranger for a 9-year-old child, but even I was shocked at the brilliant complexity of my creations as they were brought to life. The violins soared like swans behind me, while the brass section sent out a battle cry that would shatter the walls of Rome. I saved my best bebop for the performance later, but even so, I managed to show everyone that Louis Horn was the real deal, and not some Aled Jones wannabe. After the rehearsal, I went back to my changing room, which I shared with a few of the other male contestants. This was the final of 10 rounds of competition, and so far I had brushed everyone aside. My 2 main rivals for the title were the female violinist Non Matthews and male contralto singer Irov Jenkins. I had more talent than with them both combined, but realised that politics would play a part too. After Aled Jones's victory the year before, the judges would be very keen to award the title to a girl possibly. I had to be on my toes. The other contestants were there to make up the numbers. Gareth Rees, a shoddy harpist from Merthyr Tydfil, who rapped while he harped on, and Gyrnos Williams, a tuba player that breakdanced at the same time. I would make very easy work of them. As I entered the changing room, Irov Jenkins and Gyrnos Williams came up to me and introduced themselves. They both offered me their hands to shake. I didn't move my hand a muscle and brutally stared at them like a wolf observing its next kill. This was not a time to be friendly. They both seemed taken aback by my hostile stance, but I was here to win, not to make friends. I brushed my shoulder aggressively against them and walked to my corner of the changing room. As I passed Irov's rider of Tesco sandwiches and Doritos, I demonstrated my alpha status and took one of his prawn cocktail sandwiches, took a large bite and then placed it back on Irov's plate, whilst maintaining strong eye contact with him. This unsettled both of them, and I knew that I had already beaten them mentally. I knew that this competition was mine for the taking. I didn't bother paying attention to the other competitors' performances. As always, I just focused on the job I had to do. I went through my usual pre-gig warm-up. Even at the age of 9, I had discovered burpees, push-ups and sit-ups. I knew back then that if I looked after my core would look after me. After 10 minutes of high intensity, I was good to go. I got Stella to hold boxing pads for me for 5 minutes of strike work, just to get my cardio to the right level. One of the stewards came to get me to give me the 5-minute warning. I threw a glass bottle of water at the door as he entered. It smashed into 1,000,000 pieces, and the steward looked stunned. I was in the zone. Don't disturb me when I'm in the zone. Stella kissed my cheeks and told me to kill them out there. Then she left the room to join the audience.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, please make your way back to your seats and settle down now, settle down. Come on. The
Steward, inform the commoners of my arrival.
There we are. Okay. And now, my, 1994 has been a great year for Is Wales Talented.
As I waited by the curtain to go on, I thought about Gussington, my rat. He would be asleep now, as it was almost 7 p.m. I looked out into the audience of over 1,000 people. They didn't mean anything to me. Even at that age, I had nerves of steel. I looked at their faces, and I knew that I was better than all of them. Gussington was one of the few beings I could relate to, and I wish he was here to see the performance. It didn't matter. I would tell him about it later on whilst feeding him chocolate drops and listening to Charlie Parker. Now it was showtime.
Welsh, welcome, and let the dragon roar for Llewyn. Whoa!
I strode onto the stage a child. I would leave a man. The conductor, David Williams, looked at me and smiled as the audience roared at my introduction. I didn't smile back. I was in stealth mode now. It was showtime. My first note was a super A flat, and I hit it hard and super clean. A 9-year-old should not be able to play so high and clean. The competition was mine and the judges knew it. The other contestants may as well go home and enjoy the sour grapes. My performance started and ended so quickly, it was all a bit of a blur. From the moment I hit that first note, the whole thing seemed to last 20 seconds, even though it went on for several minutes. I duly accepted the adulation of the crowd who were going mental. I shook hands with the conductor David Williams, who said I was a genius. I looked into the front row and Stella was crying her eyes out. Shame my dad couldn't have made it, but I knew that it was tough getting time off from the Talbot Steelworks. 20 minutes later, when we all stood on the podium awaiting the result, the other contestants were already congratulating me. The audience chanted my name, and it was at that very moment where I experienced my first erection. The feeling of power just made my belly feel all funny.
Ladies and gentlemen, the votes are in. The winner of the 1994 Is Wales Talented Contest is Llewyn.
As the panel announced that I was the winner, the crowd leapt to their feet. The other contestants held me aloft on their shoulders, except for Non Matthews, who bawled like a baby demanding its mother's teat. A few months later, I would enter a wild and passionate 4-day love affair with the 14-year-old Non, which ended in a pregnancy scare. Thankfully, Non and I can laugh about it now, looking back. As I was carried through the arena, past the adoring crowds, I felt uneasy because my firm erection brushed the cheek of Gyrnos Williams with every step. He didn't seem to mind though. And that's really how I won Is Wales Talented. Little did I know the scandals, addictions and mental turmoil that would follow my success. But that's all in the past now. To quote wrestler and Hollywood film star The Rock, with drive and a bit of talent, you can move mountains. Well, let me tell you, Mr. Dwayne Johnson, being Welsh, I sure know a thing or two about mountains. Now though, let's all take a minute and listen in awe at where it all began, where a legacy was born.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, please make your way back to your seats and settle down now, settle down. Come on, the cockles and lava bread stall will still be open after the show, okay? There we are, okay. And now, my, 1994 has been a great year for Is Wales Talented. We've had some incredible Welsh talent, but no one as young as the final contestant. Only 9 years of age. A trumpet prodigy all the way from Pencathwedd. Performing his own arrangement of saxophoner John Coltrane's Giant Steps, accompanied by the Llethley International Symphony Orchestra and the male voice choir of Llandachai, conducted by Sir David Dragelais Williams. Give him the 3 W's a warm Welsh welcome and let the dragon roar for Llewyn.